Hello and welcome everybody to Lacework's Life's a Breach, our LinkedIn Live series. I am Jessica West and I head up the developer experience and education here at Lacework. And I am so pleased to be here today moderating a panel focusing on International Women's Day and week and month and just celebrating women today. So I'd love to bring some of the amazing women that we have here onto the stage with me, and we'll do some quick intros and dive right in. Hello, ladies. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Yes.
Hello.
To our virtual quadrant. Amazing. So yeah, to kick us off, I'd love to hear from each one of you a little kind of intro of who you are and where you're from, and then we'll dive right into some great stories. So Gina, you are to the right of me. Oh, this way. I'd love if you could kick us off.
Of course. Hello, everyone. Happy Women's Month, International Women's Day, way to celebrate women. Happy Monday. My name is Gina Yacone. I work at Trace3 as an advisory CISO. I currently live in Raleigh, North Carolina, but I will be moving to Denver, Colorado very, very soon. So very, very excited about that. I want to thank Laceworks for having me on today's panel and looking forward to the conversations.
Amazing. And I got excited. For those who don't know, I am from Denver, so it's very near and dear to my heart. So Gina, I still owe you those restaurant recommendations, and I will get those to you after the panel. And now I'm saying it live, so I can't go back. No takebacks. So amazing. Isha, I'd love to hear from you.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and happy Women's Day. My name is Isha. Thanks for having me here. I'm a senior staff engineer at Lacework, and I basically do all the boring stuff. I'm a software engineer. I'm really, really looking forward to being here, answering all the amazing set of questions and sharing my experiences and helping various women out there.
Amazing, thank you. And basically, we know coding is no joke and it's tough work. So thank you for pushing that forward. So just make sure we give you the shout out there that what you do is not easy. So
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Samaya, let's hear from you.
Right. Hi everyone. My name is Salme Karmali. I'm the director of product management at Lacework, and what I do here is essentially build product, take it to market, work with multiple customers, internal stakeholders, etc. I'm really excited to be on this panel. Really excited to kind of pay it forward, share my experiences. This month is really important to build awareness of why empower women and why there is so much bias and why we need to tackle that right now. Right. So thanks, Jessica, and thanks everyone.
Yeah, thank you. And what a really great hearing from everybody and talking about where you are right now. And so if we take a step back, we all had these different journeys, right, that we take and that bring us to this path. And one of the things that I'd love to focus on today is some of the things along that path, right, of what are some of the experiences you had, some of the challenges, how you got to where you are. But one of the favorite questions that everybody wants to hear, what started, where did you start, right? What was the first job you had that was, we'll go with the tax paying job. Because I think my first job was taking care of my siblings, which I got some allowance for, but I didn't have to pay taxes. So we'll go to the tax part. And I'd love to hear from anyone who wants to kick us off, or what was your first job and where did you start?
I can go.
Whoever wants to go.
All right. So my first job in tax paying, right, being the condition there, was a course counselor at a computer training institute. This was in the summer between grades in high school, and there I was supposed to understand people's backgrounds, understand what courses would be the best fit for them, and how they could kind of propel or close some gaps in their skills, and then move forward in the careers.
Yeah, awesome. It's a really interesting looking at that gap and trying to see that, right, and then how do you help guide and bring them to that next area. I'm sure that really helps you a lot in your life today and your journey. But we'll come back to that. So I'm gonna take that nugget and we're gonna bring it back in. And I think Isha, you spoke up earlier. Do you wanna go next?
Sure. For me, my first tax-paying job was actually an internship in the tech industry during college. I was working on building some test tools to test out computer games like FIFA. I'm sure folks have heard about it. So I think that job kind of gave me a good glimpse of how tech industry works, what are the various kind of things that need to go in, some of the seemingly very less important things, how important they are really to ensure a successful delivery of the product overall. I think it gave me a good glimpse of that.
Amazing. And what a great opportunity, right? To have that internship and be able to see, like this is like pulling the puzzles together, right? Of like what are the things that are happening right now that I can now make an impact later on, and bring that together.
Yeah,
Great.
it was really about applying the theoretical knowledge practically and really seeing it all in action. So it was really
Right,
fun.
because we don't always get that, right? That sometimes doesn't come till later. So what a great opportunity experience. So amazing. Well, hey, Gina, I'd love to hear from you as well.
Yeah. So my first like real job, my first career after college, I went to college, University of Miami, to get a political science degree. And I thought I was going to be a lawyer. So I started working at a law firm, and I was their private investigator for over 14 years. And I actually still hold my private investigation license from 2006. So I am aging myself there. When I went to college, like cybersecurity wasn't something that was really in the curriculum. You could have probably went to engineering labs and things like that, but I went to political science, and I thought I was going to be a lawyer, and then the economy kind of hit me. So I didn't go to law school, but I got to learn for 14 years a lot about the legal vertical, how to factually work up cases for trial, interviewing witnesses, learning a lot about computers and forensics, because every single type of case has a computer element to it. And so like organically, I learned a lot about technology that way. And so now I'm getting my master's degree in cybersecurity, like 20 years later. But it has been a very exciting journey.
That's incredible. So fun, but the lawyer, actually, I really liked JAG when I was younger. Now, do you remember that was like the Navy lawyer? And I was like, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go to the Navy, and we do all these things. And well, narrator, it did not happen. So, yeah, it's interesting all these different paths, right? Of like what brings us to today, and those things, lessons learned, and taking the parallels, right, of something you're interested in and you're studying, and bringing it into what you do now. And congratulations on getting your going after your master's. That's incredible. I love hearing about that. So continue that. Oh, well, just it'll be good.
Students for life, right? That's what
students for life. 100%. I love it.
So what about you, Jessica? What is your first job?
Oh yeah, my first job, not as exciting as you ladies. I was a waitress, a server at a breakfast restaurant in a small town, and it was really really cool opportunity actually, because I walked in, and I remember I had coffee with my mom, and I was like, I really want this. I want to work at this restaurant. It was so cool. It had all these trees and everything in there, and I walked up to. I was like, are you hiring? And he said, no, we're not. And I came back the next day, and I like worked on my resume. Basically, I said like what I had done before there. And I talked to the gentleman who I thought was the manager. He was the owner, and he gave me a job, an opportunity. And he like helped empower me really of like shaping this young girl's journey of like, what do we do in service, and how do I take what I'm learning now and run with it. And he really, he was like my first male ally really that I had in my career, and it really empowered me from a number of things, and it was pretty incredible. So I guess that was fun. But yeah, it was definitely a great journey, right? And that taught me a lot of things now. So thanks for asking. So well, anyway, so I'd love to let's take it a little step further. So we have where we started, and now where we are. Was there anything that happened along that path, right, that was really kind of life-changing experience, or something that maybe helped you pivot or realize like, this is where I want to go? Would love to hear hear from everyone about some of those experiences or some of those pivots and changes, because I think that we all at least have something that we're kind of overcoming.
Yeah, since I was not in technology officially, I didn't know what I was going to do if I was going to get my own practice as a private investigator, build that up, still stay in legal, go to law school. And I was talking to a recruiter, and a recruiter told me there's not enough women in cybersecurity. You should really look into that. And I have always been intrigued with national security, cybersecurity, and the law. And I just started self-studying and just looking at those books. Started with Security Plus, and then now I have a lot of initials after my name. But I just, and said forever studying, forever learning, forever. And I do think it took, I had a lot of women along that time that empowered me through training groups, getting together, women in cybersecurity and other things, where we were just studying every Saturday, every chance that we got, and really offering a lot of support to each other. So I do not think that I would be where I am without the recruiter, putting something in my ear, and then really finding an amazing, network of people, all different types of people, but then also finding my tribe that actually helped me study and pass those first couple of exams.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that community and your tribe, having those people that are surround you and help you go through this journey is so hugely important, right? And I think it's what is really key to a lot of our success, right? Of the people that we surround ourselves with, and that not only our allies and our empowered people that empower us, but really our community of saying you can do this and keep going forward, and it's huge.
And it's not me that's successful. It's everybody who brought me here too. It's off of the backs of other people that have really, cheerleaded me up. And so I do, thank you, world. So.
Oh, what a great story. Amazing. Isha, Sumaya, any stories from yourselves?
For me, the life-changing experience for me would have to be when I actually moved to Bay Area, Silicon Valley around 5 years ago. I have just learned so much here. There are such diverse set of folks here, and if you want to be in tech, you'd better love the intensity and pace of it all. And I think I really realized it or lived through it here. I really got some really good mentors and managers who could guide me in the right direction, who could provide me the support needed, who could empower me all along the way. And I'm really thankful for all of that. I think being in this environment motivated me to be bold and confident, and also just brought out the best out of me. Best version of myself, helped me grow as an individual as well as in my career.
I love that. That's such a great shout out to your mentors, and really, building off what Gina mentioned. It's incredible. And I love the comment too about the fast paced part. I find myself constantly looking at okay, this is how fast we're going. This is the hyper growth, and this is normal. And then when I speak with others that are in different industries, they kind of look like, I'm sorry, what did you do? How quickly did you get that done? But it's part of this exciting journey, right? Of building and going at this fast pace, and what is the failing quickly and then the building again. It's getting back up on and moving forward. So it's very
absolutely
exciting.
Absolutely. It's easy to be intimidated by these things or, question yourself. And I think that's where having a strong support system, having strong mentors, and just surrounding yourself with people who can guide you in those moments as well, really goes a long way.
Yeah. And in that discomfort zone, that's where we grow, right? That's where we see our biggest growth. So those mentors help make us get through that discomfort zone, and we kind of put ourselves in that discomfort zone. Being in there because we have to be agile and move.
Yeah. And just before I start with my own story, I just want to kind of give a shout out to Isha, because she actually demoed some of her work in an all hands, our entire product and engineering all hands. And I thought it was awesome. It's I'm really excited about her work, her team's work, right? And something that I think all our customers need, the world needs it. So yeah, kudos. The hustle is going well, I'd say.
Thank you,
Love it.
Salme.
All right. So for me, the kind of pivotal moment, right, was when I realized early on in my career. I used to be a developer and an architect, right? But I just wanted to do more. I just wanted to be in front of customers. I wanted this whole techno functional, right? It's not just building technology, but also applying it to grow a business, change people's lives, and all of that, right? And so that's what made me shift from being a dev architect into product management. And when I started doing that job, I realized that I didn't have certain skills. I didn't understand how to make a business case or think about strategy. And so I went back to B school, right? And again, just like you said, Gina and Isha, I had a lot of mentors and support, both from family, friends, people at work, people I knew, right? And those 2 or 3 years helped me really figure out what I want to do, and become good at that as well.
Yeah, amazing. So I want to kind of circle back to something I think that Isha mentioned, and you all went through it too, of where, how these different experiences that brought us here. But as we all know, there is a certain set of challenges that come of being a woman in technology, right? And all these different challenges that we have and associating, and something that we are still working and, changing and, breaking the bias as the theme that we have this year. But I would love to hear from any of you, something, how have you overcome some of the challenges that you've had as a woman in technology? And really, like, if there's any kind of stories that you can share about how you were able to do that, and just with lessons learned.
Yeah. I look forward to hopefully being a trailblazer for other women so they don't have to go through, I don't want to say discrimination, but bias, even unconscious bias, or, whatever it is. Being, there's not many women in cybersecurity and tech, and to really be able to have a seat at the table. I had to really bring my own chair, and I really had to find ways to just always be prepared. I feel like I had to just work harder than my male counterparts. I had to research more. I had to write better. And I, over time, gained the trust of everybody, but it wasn't inherently there in the beginning. So I think that for me, a lot of times you'll gain trust over your time and in your career, but in the beginning, I want to say, and it's sad that you have to prove something where maybe your male counterparts did not have to prove just because they showed up in the door. They were already considered the subject matter expert when they sat down, and there was no questioning of that. And somebody like me, or anybody else that might be, either listening or on this panel, have probably sat down at a table and had to prove themselves differently. And I don't know if it wasn't really meant to be that way, but it just is. So I'm hoping in the future that will dissipate. So I think that's probably my story. I'll stop there.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's great, Gina. I think the point around doing a little bit of the extra work, right, of like making sure you're prepared, is something that I can definitely resonate with, and you have to take that little extra mile of being aware and conscious of what you're doing and how you're doing it, and how it's being presented. So yeah,
thanks for sharing, Gina. I think it really makes a lot of sense what you mentioned around, just getting a seat at the table. Just making a place for yourself in the beginning is definitely more challenging overall. And there's always an unconscious bias around women and how they're sometimes seen as less technical. And I'm sure that's not something folks do consciously, but it just happens unconsciously. And women have to kind of fight through that. So thanks for sharing. I think I echo a lot of those thoughts.
Right. Oh, also bringing the chair to the table. Love that analogy. I'm going to be using that.
It's actually one of my conference talks. I actually have a seat at the table. I use that a lot. It just resonates with me. So
absolutely, yeah. And Samya, how about you?
So I think if I were to like summarize, right, the challenge that I felt the most, it's around trying to conform to stereotypes or not having to conform to stereotypes, right? Whether it's at work, outside, in family, little things as well. You step into an electronics store or a car, you go buy a car, right? Who does the person talk to, right? That kind of thing. And that's, we've seen this. So, whether it's somebody trying to get into a STEM field and trying to be an engineer, and you're like the only, engineer in a class full of boys at the time, right? You're trying to get up this really demanding role, and again, you're still like, the only woman in the room. So just being the only woman and getting used to it and trying, okay, just keep breaking those social norms it can be exhausting, but we have but we all, that's why we need to support each other. We have allies, we have some really good role models, we have things to follow, and it is it's what we want to do, right? And the rewards, the fruits that we reap at the end, I think makes it all worth it.
Yeah, amazing.
and
Actually,
also,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that this allows us to challenge each other and then challenge the people who we're in meetings with and our leadership to make sure that really, women, English as a second language, people have English as a second language, all of that we're heard. And there's different ways to pay attention to what people are saying. There's written, there's verbal, there's asking questions, there's making sure that people feel included, and maybe people are scared to speak up. So finding ways to allow them to speak up through anonymous, feedback or anything, along those lines, but really bringing diversity and inclusion. And as we, progress in our career, that we're just also watching that. So if somebody is being left out, regardless gender, anything, that we just make sure that at the end of the meeting, hey, what do you think about that? Because a lot of times the people that aren't speaking have the best ideas. And so just they may be, more introverted than somebody like me, but we should make sure that we're getting people we're hearing people, because sometimes those ideas will never get built up, and they could be the next best idea. So something to think about it, for us to challenge ourselves. So
yeah. This is a great segue, because one of the things I wanted to ask about too is like, what are some of the things that we can be doing better within technology, right? Like, what can us, like the tech world, be doing, in your opinion, to make this more of a open, inclusive space, and creating more seats and bringing more chairs so we don't have to bring that ourselves? And like, what is something that we can be doing better, in your opinion? And then follow up, is there any kind of advice that you give to women coming into this field?
On top of my head, actually, I would kind of say something that Gina was mentioning just before this. We talk a lot about how to bring more diversity, diversity overall in terms of gender or ethnic diversity or whatever. But I think it is also important that we continuously check with ourselves that once these people are onboarded, are we making them feel inclusive overall? What are we doing correctly? What can we do better? What our companies can do better overall? Uh, it's not only about having diverse numbers in your company and things like that. It is very, very important to ensure that everybody is feeling inclusive as such. I think it makes us better individuals. It At the same time, it makes our companies overall a better place to work at, and we are able to deliver better products overall just by doing that. I think it's a very important aspect.
Yeah, love that. Really, just making sure that the voices are, once they're in the door, right? How are they being heard, and how are they being empowered, right? Because it's not enough just to bring them here, because then at some point, if anybody, right, if you're not heard and feeling empowered, or you don't feel like you can make a difference, then you're going to disengage, or you're probably going to leave. And so, how to, like, either, hopefully not the entire industry, right? But I think that's a really great point.
Yeah, but if you were, again, just to take what Gina and Isha said, right, and then abstract it out a little bit towards the whole industry, right? And this is something I was asked even last week in another forum, right? What can we do as individuals, right? Regardless of whether we identify as a woman or not, right? So there are a couple of things we want to think about, right? One is check your bias and check your privilege, right? The two things, right? We're sitting here, we came from, over here through like whatever journey, but we're still, we still have our biases. We still have almost, we take certain things for granted, like our privileges for granted, right? Just being open and empathetic, right? Towards people in general. It's not like you have to go find out, hey, what's with this person or that person, right? You don't have to make it that, but it has to be a little more ingrained within ourselves to say, okay, we are going to be empathetic. We are going to be inclusive. The words we choose, the tone we choose, the voice we use, right, becomes something that's inclusive. And then that's how we model it to the rest of our teams, our peers in the industry as well.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you. And I think so. We had a question from the chat, which wove into talking around, what are the support systems we can bring in, and what changes can we make? But the second part, we'd love to hear from you is actually talking about our workplaces. So 3 out of 4 of us, as a reminder, work at Lacework, so this will be good. But do your workplaces allow you to bring that change to kind of currently enable integrating more women? And so I think, taking a step back, like, do you feel that in your current workplace that you can be empowered to break that change of where you're at?
I 1000% think I can, of course. I'm very excited to be one of Trace3's first women CISO, regional CISO. So I know that the security business unit at Trace3 is very empowering, got a lot of male allies, and, they are, looking to be, the best in terms of, next generation security and services. I think what I can say for women who are trying to get in the industry is, one, network. Find your tribe, go out there. I know it's a little bit difficult right now in this Zoom and Zoom fatigued age, where a lot of these meetings are via talking boxes. But hopefully that'll open up a little bit more, and go to your regional events, ISSA, ISC Squared, or Women in Tech, all of those different things, and try to go to conferences and meet people. I call them hallway conversations. So you can a lot of times see a speaker, but sometimes going afterwards and saying to somebody, hey, what do you think about that speaker? I didn't understand this, that, or that. Can you help me with that? Or being able to talk to the speaker afterwards. That is all building a network. And it's also helping us, really figure out our trait as well. In addition to that, you'll really kind of learn where new jobs are. And a lot of times at those events, your future employer is there. What is hard for me now to propel a lot of change is that there is this very large security skills gap. So a lot of, applications that I get, or resumes, I may not even get one female applicant. And so that's something that has to change. And so that's something I think will change in the next, year to 5 years. But sometimes I just don't have a female applicant. I'll have a diverse applicant pool, but I just won't have a female applicant. So I think it's also encouraging women to apply, telling them that, having them also share a story in terms of their resume that can resonate I wasn't in cybersecurity in the beginning. I'm in cybersecurity now, but I was able to tell my story efficiently and develop my skills over time. And so, empowered women empower women. So go find your tribe.
Yeah. I'll say, I think as someone that's spoken at different conferences and are doing some of the work, I'm always trying to make sure I find ways I can open up more opportunities for some. But I always enjoy actually hearing from people afterwards, like, oh, I enjoyed your talk, or I have a question for you, because as a speaker, as rehearsed and practiced as we are, it is always a little nerve-wracking. So it's nice to feel like, oh, that message resonated, or if you have a question. So really, to anybody out there that is interested in learning more, or like in building your network, like, I think, at least for me, I think that just always assume that everybody's approachable, right? I think that we all want to help bring each other up, and how do we help in empowering more and more women, and encouraging that kind of mentorship. So and then I know we're coming up in time too, but yes. So Samya, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to talk about like the second part of the question, and which is
Yes.
about the workplace, but also maybe hit on the first one, the first part later, right? At Lacework, I think one of the things we see are we're moving very fast, we're growing very fast, we're adding a lot of people, like almost on a daily basis, right? Every time we have our all hands, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? But the couple of things I really like about Lacework in the way it supports just diversity in general, and specifically women, is the empowerment comes from top down. If you look at the leadership, I said that before as well, like the language, the tone, their attitudes, right, are so empowering towards anybody who's joined or who's on board in this company, right? It makes you feel inclusive. And now, as kind of leaders or managers, before within that leadership team, then it becomes our responsibility to make sure that we carry the same baton, if you will, right, of inclusivity. And again, I found it very easy to speak up. I've found it very easy to raise, hey, to kind of challenge the bias, right, and say, look, whether it's one-on-one or get a group of people and say, look, this is how somebody else might perceive this particular issue, and how do we discuss it? It's a very refreshingly open culture here, and I'm really grateful for that.
Amazing.
I think I completely echo what Soumya said. My experience as a woman in tech at Lacework has been very, very positive and has been very rewarding. I have had really cool bosses here at Lacework who have always empowered me, really. And I've always felt the support that I need to learn and grow overall in my career. So it has been amazing that way at Lacework, for sure.
Amazing. So speaking of learning and growing, one of the questions we had there was, is there any free security training programs for women that we can share?
Yes, there are.
I love it. Yes, there's overwhelming yeses. This is amazing.
Yes, there are several. There are some really reputed training courses. SANS, SANS, for example, has some security training. They even have cybersecurity training and skills up program for women. Right, it's something you can look up. And you don't need to have a computer science or engineering background, to even take that course. So yes. And again, there are several courses, online learning. There's several mentors. Ask your network, right? Ask somebody in your network who's already in the space to say, okay, hey, I want to learn these things. Can I come to you if I have a question? Can you mentor me, right? And there are many people who are willing to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this question. So, for me, it's hard to maneuver. There's a lot of noise and there's a lot of training out there, and, what to do, where to go, and cybersecurity is very broad. So there are a lot of resources in terms of, if you go to like Women in Cloud, I think they have over 2,500 Azure certifications. If you wanted to learn cloud or AWS, they have certifications for that. A lot of, these different groups, the Microsofts, the Googles, and the Amazons of the world, a lot of times offer training. A lot of conferences, say you couldn't afford the conference, a lot of times the talks will be recorded and put on YouTube afterwards. The other thing that I always suggest is, if you are very, very new and you don't know where to go, you can get a LinkedIn Premium account for like a month free. And they have a LinkedIn Learning classes where you can kind of learn like maybe Security Plus or Security Basics, and then you can kind of see, oh, did I like identity and access management? Did I like risk assessment? Did I like encryption or software development lifecycle? What was something that sparked your interest? And so it's more of a general training that allows you to maybe see an area of cybersecurity that most speaks to you. But really going to your network, going to these different, ISC Squared, ISSA, Women in Cloud, the Cloud Security Alliance, Women in Cybersecurity, they offer a lot of different things and a lot of different resources. And a lot of times they'll get study groups together. And so maybe a virtual study group, it may be something on site, or maybe just get a group of friends to go to a coffee house on a weekend. And you guys say, all right, we're doing this chapter this week. And together we're going to talk about it on a Saturday and then teach each other it. So there are some resources out there. It's just finding some of the good ones and not getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that as a follow-up from all of this, I'll reach out to all of us. I think that there's a list of things that we've talked about here. So I'll make sure we'll grab that and then post from Lacework's account too, of like, hey, here's some of the resources that you can then follow back up with. So we'll mention that one. And then a shameless plug, Academy, which is Lacework's newest like online learning platform, which is launching. This will have a lot of work on not only like Lacework fundamentals, but some security best practices. So that's something that we're building very actively on within my team, and something very proud about it. And so hoping to help that we can change some of this dynamic, right? So that we can provide more education out there in general. So that we're not just talking about ourselves, but about security in general. So.
Mm-hmm. I also think for people that are new, put yourself out there. Like, don't be afraid to, ask the dumb question. That's me constantly. I use the Google machine every day to like learn things. So, cybersecurity moves so quickly. So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to, research more or find an area that's interesting to you. Find your passion. I think that's really, really important. But
yeah, actually,
and just to add,
ask.
Yeah, go ahead, Isha.
Thank you. I'll just add to what Gina was mentioning. I think asking the right questions is very important. And also, please don't worry about failing. Something goes wrong, learn from that mistake, build a plan for improving in the future. But don't worry about failing. Don't be scared that, oh, I'll fail, so I'll not do this. What is most important is being able to move forward, being able to make progress, and being able to learn from your mistakes. And to be able to learn, we all need to make mistakes. So just be more bold and confident, and don't be afraid overall.
Yeah, and I was just going to say the same, just add to what Gina and Isha say as well. Like, if you were interested in something, just start. You don't have to, say, okay, I'm going to take the 6-month course, and then at the end of it, I'm going to do, like, just start with one little thing. See if that's for you, right? Just act, take some action, right? Yeah. And that's how you'll move forward.
Amazing. Well, I was like, Gina left us. Well, actually, so it was perfect. I wanted to make sure that we're a little bit at our time here. So I wanted to see, is there anything, you all already started naturally doing it, so I just love that. Is there any other kind of last piece of advice or anything that you'd like to give to the women out there, either just getting started in the journey, maybe having a tough time that they're trying to, get over that next hurdle, that next challenge? And is there any advice you'd like to leave with everyone?
I think for me, accept that there is and will be bias. Okay. Even though you may not have faced it, you may not have really experienced it, accept that there is bias. Accepting it, that itself is empowering. And once you accept that, I think what really is important is being able to support other women in the industry, being able to just be there for them overall, just be more empathetic, more understanding of various challenges that women might have, overall, just being in the roles that they're playing. Sometimes just providing a listening ear can be very, very helpful. uh, so just stick together to empower each other, support each other, and basically kind of provide the platform to other women as well, to be successful in this industry.
Thank you.
Yeah, what I'd say is, if somebody's shutting the door, or it seems like somebody's shutting the door because of your gender, pause and question that. That's how you know that there might be bias, right? And it might happen in little things, right? And it's that little thing that makes you uncomfortable. Listen to that voice and speak up about it, right? Because that's what is going to help move this the needle forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, it's
Yeah,
I am like positive to fault. I'm like one of those crazy cheerleaders. It's very annoying at times. So, for me, it's creating a vision board, finding, your own roadmap and sticking to it, right? So a lot of times as women, we put so many other people first. And it's our time right now. It is our time. So make sure that you have a great work-life balance, but you're also making sure that you are hitting what goals that you want to instill, if that's professionally or personally. Don't lose sight of that. We don't want you to burn out, because I need more women in cybersecurity and in tech in general. So I want you to be here through the duration. And so make sure that you're finding that great balance, and make sure that you're hitting your goals too. And don't be apologetic for it. So I think those
100%.
are my words of wisdom.
I love that. Well, and so to anybody listening too, especially, we're talking a lot about how women can empower and help other women. But, we talked about at the very beginning, men, like tech allies, are hugely important too, right? This is how we can start breaking down these biases and how we can move forward and make this so this isn't the norm, right? To have this bias is having that type of allyship. So, man, for that part of it is, even actually Isha mentioned it. It's like just being able to listen and empower and help make sure that you are there to help break down those barriers that you may see some of your colleagues having, or maybe in the community. So that's important, right? So how do we help break these down? And we can all change this by working together. And so, make sure we're listening. And ladies, put yourself first. I think that's a great point, Gina. Really remembering, let's take care of each other. And some, finding your tribe, finding your community. You and Isha both mentioned, we all talked about it, how hugely important that is to us and where we are in our career now. And it's so important to find whatever you can find, either if it's this virtual quadrant and finding groups online, whether it's, local communities, that's it's a big factor for you to move forward in your success. So with that, yeah, I think we're at time. And ladies, thank you so much for your time today. This was such an incredible panel. I feel so honored that I got to be here to moderate and talk with all of you. Thank you everyone for listening in. We do have this, we try to do the live Super Reach every 2 weeks at noon Eastern Standard Time. And, please tune in. And with that, thank you so much for your time. And we'll see you on the flip side, and enjoy. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Bye.